You're 16, perched on a wooden stool in the kitchen, a bath towel taped around your neck. Your friend skillfully maneuvers a Walmart-bought Wall Color Pro clipper up the back of your head, saving you $20 on a trim at Great Clips. Fast forward 25 years, and a different chain of 314 barbershops is sold to Regis Corporation for $22 million. This journey between those 2 points encompasses a $7 billion industry, 76,000 barbers, and 1,000 state-mandated hours of supervised practice, all before you're legally allowed to cut a stranger's hair for money. Many who pick up clippers never get beyond that kitchen stool experience. This is a look at every stage of a barber's journey in America and the actual financial investment required to advance. If you like career breakdowns with real numbers and no fluff, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The kitchen stool. Buzz cut. You're 16, and the financial logic is clear. A kid's haircut at Sport Clips costs $20, which is a week's worth of lunch money. So, you retrieve the 21-piece Wall Color Pro Kit from its plastic container, the one your mom bought at Walmart for $35.99, and consult the instructions on the bathroom counter. Your phone displaying YouTube is propped against a glass on the toothbrush holder. A YouTuber you've never heard of is expertly fading the back of his own head using a hand mirror, and you hit play. You attach a number 4 guard to the clipper and drape your younger brother with a beach towel. The moment you switch it on, a vibration courses up your wrist. You run the clipper against the grain on the sides, the plastic guard gently scraping his scalp, before dropping to a 2 at the temples. The stubborn cowlick at the crown curls the wrong way. Panic sets in. You call your mom from the laundry room, asking her to even it out. She does, mostly. Hair clings to your t-shirt collar, scatters across the kitchen tile, and adheres to the lip of the dustpan. You hand your brother the mirror, showing him 3 different angles, and he assures you it's fine. The 5 p.m. news murmurs in the next room, barely audible. Then, silence returns. Your apprehension about the clippers fades. That $20 you saved from Sport Clips bought a week of cafeteria lunches, and your brother's hair grew back within a month, the very first lesson of the trade. The cowlick demonstrates the limitations and capabilities of a guard. Ready for someone beyond your brother? Level 2, sweeping the shop floor. You're 17, earning $10 an hour, plus whatever cash tips the master barber shares at the close of business. You unlock the shop, flip the switch on the William Marvey pole, and its red, white, and blue stripes begin to revolve above the sidewalk. You fill the barbicide jars, combining 2 ounces of concentrate with 32 ounces of water, watching the blue tint swirl under the fluorescent lights. Then, you meticulously arrange each barber station, 2 clippers per chair, a neck duster, and a folded cape with the Velcro snap facing up. The Clubman Pinot Talc, 9 ounces, $5.99 a can, is restocked. You sweep between every customer, you sweep again. Without being asked, you hand the master a hot towel, and the second time you do it that day, he speaks your name for the first time. That's the real reward. Jose Domingo began this way at 15 in his father's shop in Argentina, subsequently sweeping floors for Tony Puglisi at the Foggy Bottom shop in Washington, starting in 1988. He was still there 31 years later, according to Desist. You stop keeping track of your pay stubs. You're learning. The master charges a man in a wool coat $35 for a fade and a beard trim. The man adds a $10 tip via Cash App. You observe the trimmer precisely define the jawline. A cloud of talc, the snap of a cape, the mirror's reveal. At closing, the master nods at you and hands you a clipper, blade side down. Line up the next walk-in, he instructs. You drape the cape over the kid. You're sweating through your shirt. You don't mess it up. Ready for the state board? Level 3. Barber School and the State Board. You're 19, and tuition for the Master Barber program at Tribeca. Barber and Beauty School in New York is $4,500. You sign a Title IV form. The school holds accreditation from the National Accrediting Commission of Career Arts and Sciences, founded in 1969, the crucial acronym as it's essential for program loans. You log your hours. California mandates 1,000 hours under SB 803, Texas 1,000, Pennsylvania 1,250, and Florida 900 under HB 1,193. Your state's requirement is one of these. These hours are a barrier you ascend in 50-minute classroom segments. You diligently practice scissor over comb techniques on a synthetic mannequin head clamped to a desk. The scent of plastic hair is a strange blend of doll and hot iron. You complete the free Barbicide certification, available online since 2012, in a single afternoon. The clinic floor offers cheaper services. Walk-ins pay $8 for a haircut that costs $24 elsewhere, and they understand you'll take twice as long. You discover that an elderly man with thinning hair will often tip you cash if you don't draw attention to it. Then, in week 11, you botch a fade. The blend abruptly stops at the parietal ridge, leaving a harsh line of dark hair resting on the skin like a ledge. The instructor approaches, takes the clippers, opens the lever halfway, and, in 3 swift passes, eradicates the line. He tells you, "The lever's your friend, kid." You remain silent. You return home and repeat the same motion on the mannequin until past midnight. You lose track of the hours. Then comes State Practical Day. A PSI proctor, a clipboard, a stopwatch, a live model in a chair you didn't bring, a cape, a comb, 2 clippers, a trimmer, talc. It's the identical 15-minute open shop checklist you completed at 17, but now the floor is a hotel ballroom in Albany. You attach a number 2 guard. You shave the sides, you freehand the parietal area. The lever moves only when necessary. You finish ahead of time, and the proctor says nothing, which is the best indicator of success. 6 weeks later, your license arrives in a window envelope, your name spelled correctly. Vic Blends, or Victor Fontanez, completed Fayetteville Technical Community College's barber program a few years before you did. Sophie Pack progressed through cosmetology school in Santa Ana and was recognized as 2017 Female Barber of the Year at BarberCon. The card in your hand signifies you can rent a chair tomorrow. Are you prepared to earn your rent from it? Level 4, the chair renter. You're 23, and you pay the shop owner $150 each week for a chair under a fluorescent light and a mirror with a chipped corner. You take home approximately $40,000 annually, primarily in cash, mostly tips. Your equipment costs more than your first car. A Wall 5-star Magic Clip cordless at $129.99 for the main part of every fade. A Babulous Pro Gold FX trimmer at $154.99 that you zero gap at home with a tiny Phillips screwdriver. An Andes T-Outliner GTX at $74.95 for lineups. And an Oster Classic 76 corded at $189.95 for the older clients who only trust that specific loud hum. You schedule appointments using the Squire app. You post before and after photos on Instagram. The client pays $45. You give the shop owner $150 per week. A regular client comes in every 2 weeks, a tradesman in a high-vis vest, and he sits down and says, "Low fade, half inch on top," the exact same phrase every time. You drape him with a cape, set a 1 at the temple, freehand the blend, trim the lineup at the hairline, scissor over comb the top, apply a hot towel, Use a straight razor on the neck and dust with talc using a brush. A Cash App tip arrives before he even stands up. He barely glances at the mirror reveal. He already trusts you. Your fourth no-show in a week consumes 2 appointment slots. You stop parking around the corner. You begin requiring deposits for Squire bookings. The following week, you have 0 no-shows. That's the lesson, and it's the only one. Sophie Pock started at a shop in Santa Ana in 2011 and became Babyliss Pro's global educator within 6 years. You're not at that level yet. You're a chair, a mirror, and 100 regular clients who rebook every 3 weeks. 1,700 haircuts a year, a fully booked schedule, and a key to the back door so you can close up on Sundays. Ready to sign a lease? Level 5, the master barber and the shop owner. You're 32, and you sign a 5-year commercial lease for a storefront featuring a glass door and a sidewalk spacious enough for the William Marvey pole you install yourself. The shop generates $400,000 annually on the higher end. Your personal income is somewhere above $90,000. You acquire 4 Takara Belmont chairs costing between $3,000 and $8,000 each. The pneumatic hiss is the same one you grew up with. You upgrade to the Andes Master Cordless at $199.99 and a Babyliss Pro LO Pro FX at $179.99. You test out a pair of Hattori Hanzo shears and decide to keep them. You hire 4 barbers and set the booth rent at $200 a week, blade oil included. You choose Square for the register because everyone already has the app. You launch a Shopify storefront for a pomade with your logo on it, priced at $14.99 for 4 ounces, similar to Suavecito. The 5 a.m. alarm no longer wakes you. You're up before it, and the front door keys are in your pocket. Mark Busto began cutting hair at 16 in a New Jersey garage and eventually worked at 3 Square Studio in Chelsea, charging fashion designers between $150 and $800 a session, according to CNN Money in 2014, while also providing Sunday haircuts for the homeless. Rob Farrell, known as Rob the Original, opened his San Antonio shop in 2006 and charges approximately $400 for a portrait fade, as reported by Texas Monthly. You aren't them either, but a man with 300,000 followers messages you on a Tuesday, asking if he can get a cut from you on Thursday. And you agree. The photo of his fade accumulates 60,000 likes by Saturday. Your appointment book fills up. You increase the haircut price from $35 to $45, no one leaves. The Belmont chair hisses at the 7 p.m. closing time. The scent of alcohol and aftershave lingering in the air, and all 4 chairs are occupied, while sweeping is now someone else's responsibility. Ready to sign over the brand? Level 6, the multi-unit operator and the strategic exit. You're 41, and the second shop opened funded by the cash flow from the first. The third one opens supported by the second's success. You sign a Sport Clips development agreement, entailing a $30,000 initial fee per unit, $289,000 to $475,000 all in per store, according to the 2024 FDD, a 6% royalty on gross sales every week, and 5% allocated to the National Ad Fund. Gordon Logan, following an engineering degree, a business school degree, and a period flying military transport for the Air Force, launched the first Sport Clips prototype in Austin in June 1993. He initiated franchising in November 1995, and the chain currently operates approximately 1,900 locations, with seasoned stores generating an average unit volume of $419,485, according to the latest FDD. Joe Grondin, after 30 years as a barber, established Rooster's Men's Grooming Center in Lapeer, Michigan, in 1999. eventually selling a controlling stake to Regis Corporation on July 1st, 2011. You expanded to 12 units across 3 states. A corporate development associate from a public strategic company lands in your regional office on a Tuesday, armed with a binder. "We're considering 3 and a fraction times your trailing earnings," he states. You remain silent during the meeting. On December 19, 2024, Regis Corporation acquired the Aline Salon Group, comprising 314 salons spread across Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, for $22 million. Specifically, $19 million in cash, $3 million in Regis stock, and up to $3 million in earnout, based on $83 million in trailing revenue and $5.8 million in trailing earnings as per the SEC 8K. The deal multiple for this acquisition was 3.79 times. Your deal is quite similar. The keys to the original shop hang on a hook near the back door. They remain yours. The highest level of this profession isn't mastering the barber's craft. The buyer in the Aline deal paid 3.79 times trailing earnings. This marks a substantial discount compared to the 2.12 times seller's discretionary earnings that a single-chair independent would command on biz-buy-sell. This is because what gets acquired at the apex of the industry isn't the haircut itself, but the operational system. The barber, who scaled to 12 units, ceased being the active cutter around Unit 4, and the corporate development associate arrived to purchase the chairs, the leases, and the royalty stream. Not the hand that wielded the clippers at 23. The licensing requirements for the trade have been relaxed. California reduced its hour requirements from 1,500 to 1,000 under SB 803 in 2022. Florida decreased its from 1,200 to 900 under HB 1193 in 2021. Simultaneously, the Instagram algorithm began to overshadow the traditional storefront sign. The profession is now easier to enter, far more challenging to distinguish oneself in than ever before. Furthermore, the wage reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, $19.99 an hour, amounting to $41,570 annually, fails to account for 76% of working barbers who are self-employed and manage their finances primarily with cash. You once missed a Saturday wedding because a regular client needed a haircut before a funeral, and you would make that same choice again, for the man who sat in your chair was the one who taught you the lever in week 11. The wall color pro kit from the kitchen, the one your mom purchased for $35.99 at Walmart, now rests in a glass display case behind your desk. It contains the identical plastic guards, and it's in the same red box. The pole outside Unit 1 still rotates, indicating it's open, and a 17-year-old you've never met activated the switch this morning. He earns $10 an hour. He's paying attention. The keys are on the hook by the door, and they are yours.